Hello everyone, I'm Wind. I've just blown in. And today we are back with more Seduce Me 2, The Demon Wars. Last time, we did the ritual, found out I can't go home, and the guys are here! Yay! And yeah, now we're gonna go to our rooms, because we're gonna be fighting in a war apparently. Cool! So, let's get on with it, shall we? Thank you, Diana. Even though my guy is being a total tool right now. You are better than how we've treated you. Diana merely nodded and led our group out of the room towards our new temporary rooms. The walk to our room became a silent journey. Sam and I held hands. Whoa. But for some reason... Wait, am I holding his hand so he doesn't try rabbit punching her? There were no words to say between us. Oh, that's no good. This entire situation sat in my mind and festered. Let it go. Plaguing my thoughts and causing me to remain speechless. Oops. All of this seems so unreal and hard to imagine, let alone believe. How is this possible? We're about ready to marry an incubi, brother. We've seen devils, we know angels exist. Why is this what's hard to believe? I felt Sam gently squeeze my hand, causing me to look over at him. Was he feeling my anxiousness somehow? Yeah, possibly.
Hey, you sure you're all right?
Aw, he's trying to be caring. I stared at him a bit longer before replying. Yes? I would say question mark? Not period, but I'm fine. It's fine. We're fine, right? I wasn't all right. That's been my motto since 2016. And now it's 2020 as of recording. All of this was a muddled mess, and I couldn't help but worry. It had to have been obvious. Anyway, for Sam to notice and ask. Wow, okay. My character's supposed to be in love with this guy. I mean, I'm not, but my character is. Still, I didn't want him to know, especially if these worries are going to fade away eventually. I smiled at him and hugged his arm to me, making Sam gasp before smiling a bit and pulling me to him. Aww.
Alright, whatever you say. I'm glad you're safe.
Aw, we've browbeaten you into submission. I'm glad you came. Sam and I were guided through the hallways until we finally reached our room, which happened to be the ambassador room I had slept in before. Makes sense. My stuff's probably already here. Oh wait, I have no stuff. And bitch ruined my wedding dress. I mean, she made me a cool fantasy outfit, but she ruined my wedding dress to do it. It was good to know that I was going to a place I recognized. I sat on the bed and let out a sigh, feeling the worry of the entire situation sink in and fade out of my mind. I wasn't alone, at least, anymore, and Sam was willing to fight for me to return home. Girl, Sam would be willing to fight for a sandwich. It was unexpected. Really? Really? My character thinks that's unexpected. Really? But it was amazing to have Sam here. Debatable. Sam looked around the room, taking in the space.
Fancy room?
Very. So what do you think? Think we should decorate our room at home like this? I mean, we're still gonna have air conditioning, don't get me wrong, but... Yeah, apparently it's an open ambassador's room. They let me sleep here when I came. You know, they were really good hosts, and you were kind of a dick to Diana.
That was how long ago?
At least a day? Like, a day? Sam laughed and stuffed his hands into his pockets. What was so funny?
Oh, fuck. I forgot the time difference between this world and the human world.
Ah, right. Wait, time difference?
Yeah, time goes slower here and stuff. So, like, while you've been here a day, you've only been gone from the human world for 4 or 5 hours.
Ah, okay. Cool. Also explains why you're not more panicked. Wait, huh? I was only gone for 4 or 5 hours? Also, this raises so many questions about the boys' ages. How is that possible? Then again, I was in another plane, so it was somewhat understandable. My brain couldn't wrap around it. So I held my head, staring at the floor in shock. Sam, don't smile like that. Your girlfriend's in shock. Sam laughed again and walked over to me, sitting by my side, before he wrapped an arm around my shoulders in comfort.
At least we found you. If it weren't for Damien and Twyla, it would have taken us longer.
Also, what did those two do? This actually does raise a question of, how did they know to come here? I nodded, relieved regardless of how I was found. Well, I couldn't get back. There was a beacon of hope now, which replaced my previous worry and concern. I leaned my head onto Sam's shoulder. Feeling exhaustion hit me like a wave. But I didn't want to sleep just yet. I was with Sam, so I wished to stay up just a bit longer and be awake with him. Sam?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what to say. Punch him in the arm and run away? I just wanted to be awake a while longer. I looked up at him as he turned his head to look down at me, patiently waiting for me to ask whatever he assumed I was going to ask. You know what? Sorry, dude, it's nothing. Let's go sleep. I shook my head and nuzzled him, looking back to the floor. I didn't know what to say in pure honesty. Sam seemed to understand and hugged me gently.
I'm glad you're safe.
See, this I like with him. It's just when they amp up the jerk factor, it's just, I don't care. I'm glad you're here. I closed my eyes, listening to him breathe as I let out a silent sigh. As we pulled away at last, Sam let a smug grin paint his face.
Well, I guess one good thing came out of this. I get to kick my old man's ass.
Priorities, not you're okay, not I get to come home for a little bit. I get to beat up my dad. I knew Sam hated his father. Well, I can't blame him right now. But was it really a good thing? In retrospect, yes. Morally, it was questionable. Wow. Let's rationalize this death away. You really hate him, don't you? A smile on Sam's face slowly diminished to an angry expression. His eyes full of rage, but his mouth passed into a fine line.
Yeah, I do.
Understandable. Sam slowly stood back up and walked towards the fireplace, staring into it with his hands clenched into fists at his sides.
That bastard made me and my brothers miserable for years.
Uh-huh.
We finally escaped. And then he grows the balls to try to steal the woman I love away from me.
Yeah, why me? I'm not the first one to marry into your brother's family. Or your dad's family, I should say. Hopefully you understood what I meant there. Why is he fixated on me? He had 4 other weddings to stop. Sam.
That bastard kills for fun. He burns kingdoms to the ground for not submitting to him, and murders hundreds just because he can. He has a fucking harem of people and replaces every one of them with prisoners of war by the handful.
Yeah, your dad sounds like a jerk. And in retrospect, you're probably very well behaved compared to him.
If he had gotten his hands on you, if he even touched you, I would have...
Say, sweetie, focus. Save that anger for the battlefield. His fist tightened at his sides. I stared wide-eyed as blood, little by little, began to drip through the crevices of his fingers. I stood and rushed over, laying myself across his back and pressing my forehead into the back of his neck. Sam, it's okay.
It's really not. We should probably get him therapy.
Is it?
Well, how your dad acts, no. I'm more worried about you.
I looked up as Sam turned around to face me. He didn't touch me, as his hands were still wounded from his tight fists, but his expression dimmed a bit to a look of sadness.
I would have never forgiven myself if you fell into his hands.
I saved myself from the demons in this verse. I'm fine.
I stared deep into Sam's gaze. Seeing the fear behind them, I was scared as well, but thankful to be saved by Sarah and Diana. Someone above was watching over me, carefully, and I thank God for that.
Because, my fiance's kind of useless.
I wrapped my arms around Sam's neck and I leaned my head to his, pressing my forehead to his own. I'm safe now. Diana and Sarah saved me from that. For now.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, so the next time you see Diana and her guard, maybe say thank you. Don't be a dick to them.
Sam wrapped his arms around me, fists still closed.
Sweetie, unclench. You'll feel better.
And pulled me to him tightly. I could see him biting his lip, almost piercing the skin, but maintaining some form of control. I frowned, but allowed the silence to pass between us. We'll defeat the Demon Lord and go home soon. Sam nodded against my forehead, remaining quiet. We had to let this pass. We had to move on and mentally prepare ourselves for a war. Sam would get his anger quelled, and we would be able to return home at last. We had to. Sam and I eventually pulled away from each other, locking our gazes lovingly.
Come on. We can't stay up all night.
I mean, we could. Right, training in the morning.
I know. Sam lifted his head, which was now free of wounds and blood, and guided me to bed, crawling in after as I settled in between the sheets. Sam and I embraced lovingly and let the darkness of the night take over, bringing us to a quiet slumber. The darker sleep was usually a friend of mine, only showing me nightmares on the rarest of occasions. The nightmare of my dying sent shivers down my body as I recalled it, but I knew that it was only a dream.
I mean, is it?
Would I have one like that again? I hoped not.
Yeah, let's just stick to the classics of my teeth falling out.
Would I have no choice in the matter if another came? That was another story.
Seduce Me 3. Will I have nightmares tomorrow?
I opened my eyes to find myself in the mouth of a cave that descended beneath the earth. Behind and above me was a bright light, where I could see my friends and family. However, as I looked down into the darkness, I caught sight of Sam walking away further into the cave.
Well, let's go get my man. Onward.
Sam? He didn't answer. Sam continued forward, losing himself in the dark. I instantly began to follow, forgetting about the light for a moment, before stopping and looking back. My family had a look of despair while my friends held each other, watching me with their heartbroken faces. Was this some sort of message? Was I following Sam into a place my friends and family could not be in? Was this my future?
Maybe.
I became torn. What was I going to do?
You are not worthy.
Shows what you know. I'm the main character. Question mark, question mark, question mark.
All of a sudden, the darkness became full of fire, and the bare outline of Sam flashed before burning away in the light of the flames. I couldn't even let out a scream of pain, as he was instantly burnt to ash.
Whoops.
Sam!
Run! Run! No!
Diana's voice echoed through the air, but I was frozen in place, watching the flames rush at me to take me as well. I ran back. My heart would be scarred forever with the memory of flames taking my love away. If I stayed, I would die with Sam. I stood in the middle, unsure of what to do. As the flames took me, I woke up in a hot sweat.
Gah!
Gripping the covers, I sat up, staring at the far wall before looking around. My heart was beating wildly as sweat ran down my cheeks, and the sides of my head, another nightmare. This time, however, Sam woke up with me.
Whoa! Hey, what's wrong?
Everything.
I looked to Sam, seeing him not burnt or as ashes, but as perfectly okay. I turned toward him and wrapped my arms around him tightly, now desperate not to let go of him. Sam, despite being surprised, wrapped his arms around me and held me close. 2 nightmares, both leaving me and Sam engulfed in flames. I died in the first, he died in the second.
So, third time we both die?
What was I going to believe anymore?
How about believe in your guy? How about believe in Diana and her cause? How about believe in getting the fuck home?
Sam rubbed my back gently and planted a kiss on my shoulder.
Hey, it's okay, alright? It was a stupid nightmare.
Agreed. But you died.
You know I can handle anything that comes my way.
Except for me.
Could he really? He was strong and he was fast. But was he powerful enough to withstand whatever had let loose those flames to swallow him whole? Question mark, question mark, question mark. You are not worthy. What did that voice mean? How was Sam not worthy? What was he not worthy of? There were a million questions running through my mind, and none of them could be answered. At least not at the moment.
Are we sure? Like, we could just say, hey, let me break it down. This is my dream. This is what happened. At this point, a strange voice said this to me. Does this mean anything to you? It might actually mean something to Sam.
I simply rested my head on Sam's chest and let him pull us back down to the bed to sleep.
Whatever happens, I'll always be here. Alright?
All right. I nodded and closed my eyes, praying that I would not see the nightmare again. As fate was kind once more, I slept peacefully the remainder of the night. I slowly woke from my sleep, feeling the ache of the morning consume and rush through my body relentlessly in an attempt to keep me contained in bed.
I'm not opposed to this.
I didn't mind. I was pressed against a warm chest, one whose arms I adored to be in. The best way to wake up. The nightmare plagued my thoughts, but my heart fluttered in reality, knowing that what I was feeling in the physical world was what I was supposed to care about.
Well, I mean, in a world where magic is real, you might want to keep an eye on your dreams.
I looked up at Sam's sleeping face, giggling at the sight of his messy bed hair. Sam slowly woke from the sound of my laughter, blinking the sleep away to stare down at me.
Morning.
Morning. I smiled and kissed Sam on the lips to help arouse him, only to end up being pulled into a tight and loving embrace with my head buried in his shoulder.
Did you sleep okay?
I much prefer waking up, truthfully. The second time, yeah. Sam nodded in understanding against my shoulder. As I wrapped my arms around him, I felt so warm and safe within the confines of his embrace that the thoughts of the nightmare I had vanished from my mind. It would come back, but it was gone for now.
Nestle on his shoulder. I'm gonna nestle his shoulder. Snuggles forever.
I was anxious to know what would come in the day. However, I was confident we would get through the day. Yay! I nuzzled Sam's shoulder, feeling him let out a loving hum against my shoulder. Sam gently loosened his embrace and pulled away to look at me with a tired smile.
I don't want to get up yet.
Agreed. Let's go back to sleep. I laughed, knowing this was how Sam operated in the morning. He was definitely not a morning person, so seeing him curl up to me and ask permission to stay in bed was still an endearing sight that reminded me how much I loved him. My heart warmed as I smiled and kissed his forehead. Then we don't have to. We can sleep a little longer if we want. Uh-huh. And how long until his brothers come knocking on the door? Or Diana? Sam smiled and closed his eyes, pulling me against his chest with a hearty chuckle.
Good. We can go eat later.
Cool. Our peace was broken, unfortunately. Called it by the sound of knocking on our door. Sam and I let out a simultaneous groan. Our plan was ruined. I mean, did they not have do not disturb signs? You could just hang one up.
Go away!
Okay, I now see why I love you.
Sam, we brought breakfast.
I mean, they did bring food.
We'll eat later!
Are you seriously going to argue with me?
Yes!
Come on, it's like 9 a.m.
Irene, shush, go away. Now I was getting upset. I wanted to stay in bed, feel Sam's arms around me for a little while longer. Was that too much to ask? Screw breakfast. Oh, I like sassy me. We have 3 more hours until noon.
Oh my god, just get up already! We're burning daylight here!
Oh, right, war on and shit. Sam and I whined, now irritated that our plans to sleep in became ultimately impossible. However, we both understood that today was a new day, and we had to start preparing to take on the Demon Lord. I slowly rose and sat up in bed, yawning as Sam begrudgingly followed suit. All right, come in. The door opened, and in poured the Incubi brothers and their wives, carrying a plate of food for each. James and Erdessa held out their 2 extra plates for me and Sam.
Thanks, Dessa.
Aw.
You're welcome, Sparky.
Hey. Sparky. Actually, you kind of like that name. Thank you, James. Also, mood killer.
Of course.
James and Erdessa moved away from us as we both looked down at our plates. On it were fruit slices, bread, cheese, and some form of jerky I didn't recognize. It was probably safe, knowing that the others were eating as well. Sam, however, lowered his plate to his lap and looked up at his brothers.
So, what's the plan?
Well, we should probably take the next couple of days to train properly. Since we're in Lilith Castle, we'll have access to training equipment.
Cool. And what about me and the wives? What are we doing? Lilith Castle? This place has a name? Girl, of course it does. Sheesh, I remember when I used to be smart. The boys and Irene, Eric's wife, nodded in reply. Sam stuffed a stick of jerky in his mouth and began to chew on it as Damien began to explain.
The first succubus, Lilith, was exiled here after being cast out of Eden by the heavens. She became a demon and soon began to breed more incubi and succubi than the world could control.
Cool. Wait, Lilith as in Lilith from the Bible?
Yes. During her time here, she established a kingdom with this very castle at its heart.
Go on.
It's a pretty castle indeed. I've never had the pleasure of coming here.
I have so many questions about the wives that we never get answered.
I'm not really a fan of it.
Matthew, shush. Sam swallowed the bite of jerky he had in his mouth and licked his lips, joining the conversation.
Alright, so we train until we can't anymore.
Cool. Bye.
Obviously, we'll need breaks in between, but we can't afford to let a day go by without intense training. We only have a week after all.
Uh-huh. Good luck with that. Bye-bye. Yeah. Worry began to bubble back into my mind. Everyone was willing to step up and start training. But Eric was right. We only had a week to prepare for the Demon Lord. Would we be strong enough in time? Yeah, I'm gonna say yes, because main character powers.
You fear too soon, child.
Did anyone else hear that? Huh? I straightened up my back and looked around, hearing the voice from my dream echo through the air. Everyone else looked at me curiously, wondering why I spoke up.
Wait, what?
Okay, I'm the only one that heard the voice. Cool. I've gone insane. Not the way I thought I was going to, either.
Did you say something?
Maybe? I looked around at everyone, seeing their confused faces. Did they not hear the voice?
They cannot hear me, child.
Oh, goody! I have an imaginary friend. I shook my head, rubbing it gently with a nervous laugh. Sorry, I thought I missed something. The confusion in everyone's faces dissipated as everyone got back to the topic at hand. One I couldn't remember or focus on. Training, they were talking about training. My thoughts went back to the voice, wondering how it was speaking to me and how it knew what I was thinking.
I am closer than you imagine.
Creepy. What do you mean?
Be patient, child. The time for answers will come soon enough.
Ow. I grew more and more concerned and confused. What was the spirit talking about?
I am no mere spirit.
Oh god, you're a fucking angel, aren't you? Go away! Do not want! Then what are you?
That I cannot tell you yet. When the time comes, you will know.
This was mildly scary. A voice in my head was speaking to me, and I could only speak back in my thoughts, without anyone knowing what was going on. I looked around to see everyone still speaking to each other, but I couldn't focus on what they were saying. All I could focus on was the voice in my head.
Answers will come when the time is right. For now, I will bid you farewell.
Bye, creepy voice! Wait.
Whoa, wait, what?
I didn't realize I spoke aloud until everyone looked at me again. I looked at Damien, wondering if he heard everything going on in my head, but he seemed just as confused, if not more so, than the others.
You alright?
No. Emerald. Dot dot dot. Dot 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 indeed. Let it go, tell them. You know what? I'm gonna keep my crazy to myself, which is something I cannot do in the real world. I shook my head. Whatever was in my mind was gone now, so I had no reason to be distracted. Except for my topless fiancé. Yum. Sorry, just had a rough night.
Oh, we're sorry. Is everything okay now?
No, I'm hearing voices. I nodded, wanted to shake off Twyla's worries. Yeah, it was just a nightmare. It went away the second time I went to bed. Everyone nodded in understanding, before Sam wrapped an arm around me and hugged me to his side.
Well, like we said, we'll be ready for whatever the Demon Lord throws our way.
Cool.
I wouldn't be too sure about that just yet.
Damn it, Diana. Don't ruin our morale. Everyone in the room turned their heads to see Diana and Saro standing in the door. Diana stepped further into the room as Saro stood at attention, watching her. I can't blame, I'd watch her too.
You 5 have been gone during the 10 years of this war.
Wow.
You do not seriously believe that you will be ready for this in a mere week, do you?
I wouldn't count the boys out just yet. The wives I'm not quite so sure about, but... Diana seemed firm and serious. I could understand why, but a part of me felt a bit angry that she shut down our pep talk. Sam glared at Diana.
And if we do?
Then it is a foolish mistake.
How so?
10 years of absence can be unkind to one's abilities.
She kinda has a point.
To be fair, it has only been 2 years for us.
It's still 2 years not in practice.
Regardless, when was the last time any of you actually fought in battle?
Well, in this verse, they actually didn't get to fight the demons, so... When they got their asses handed to them at the mansion? Silence consumed the room. She was right. However, we weren't willing to give up that easily. I stood and placed my plate on the bed behind me. Why does it matter? We're going to defeat the Demon Lord either way. I am so freaking confident, y'all.
We will. But there is no reason to try and breed ideas of false hope that it will be easy. Too many lives have been lost in this war, with the hope that they'll all survive. It's better to be realistic.
You know what? I 100% agree with her. Out of character. In character. Bitch, just say go team. The tone of her voice echoed a heavy warning. No doubt she had seen hundreds or thousands of death in the war firsthand. Yeah, this has been her life since she came home. But now was not the time to doubt ourselves. Sam stood up as well, standing at my side in defiance.
Fuck that! If you're right, then hope's the only thing we got.
Diana, Also, sweetie, chill. Calm down. Don't be rude. Saro stepped up to Diana's side, giving Sam a blank stare in return for his mistress.
Hope can only take you so far. Do you truly believe it will help you defeat the Demon Lord?
Well, it's useful to have. Which is why we should also be OB training as well. I felt Sam take my hand and nod, affirming his words. I smiled and squeezed his hand, agreeing. Sarah and Diana stared at us, with Diana crossing her arms. Something was on Diana's mind as she stared at Sam, just from looking in her eyes. What was it?
Can you say that with confidence?
I think you just did.
I can. Want me to?
Please?
Not to derail the topic, but this is a waste of time. We should be preparing for war, not bickering about if we can or not.
Exactly. A moment of silence passed through the room as Diana stared at Sam sternly. However, she was distracted, distant from the conversation, as if she was stalling time to have her thoughts wander. What was keeping her real attention? She's a queen during a rebellion at war? Yeah, I think she has a lot on her plate.
Well, I'm not going to argue about this. Believe what you wish.
Cool. Bye. Sam and I waited and watched as Diana lowered her arms to her sides with a sigh.
However, we do have something to discuss.
Cool? Diana ran a hand through her hair and looked around the room, pressing her lips into a fine line.
So, about all of you participating in the war, You all obviously need to train.
Yep. Everyone nodded in agreement to Diana's statement. While we weren't battle ready, we still needed to at least know how to defend ourselves. Diana, however, looked to me. But what about the other wives?
You, most of all.
What about the other wives? Huh? Me? I was suddenly confused. How come I was the odd one out that had to be ready the most? The last thing I remembered about training was that Diana was against the idea altogether. Diana sighed and rubbed her temple.
Apparently, there are guidelines to breaking this curse. Not only do we have to kill the Demon Lord, but you have to be nearby when it happens for the curse to even break.
Cool. Great. Awesome. But that makes no sense. Where did you learn this?
Shadow. He spent the night trying to find alternative ways to break your curse. Unfortunately, we didn't find anything of the sort, but we found the guidelines to breaking it.
Ah, I owe Shadow a thank you note. Well, it still makes no sense. I'm gonna be petulant and whine.
Even while it doesn't, it's still better to be safe than sorry. I don't want to kill him and then still have you stuck here because of an error.
Agreed. So maybe I should not be so fucking whiny right now. I could only sigh and take it in, so I had to be there when the Demon Lord fell. Great. Diana waved her hand dismissively through the air, breaking my potential thoughts.
Anyway, we can't have you dying on the way there, and we can't monitor you when we're in battle. You should at least know how to defend yourself. That's why we've come up with a solution.
Huh? What solution?
Simple. The other rebel leaders and Sarah have agreed that if you'd like a trainer to enhance your abilities, you can train with one of them.
Oh, interesting. I stared, seeing Sarah step forward with a nod.
Each of the leaders is proficient in a different area of magic and battle strategy, good enough for self-defense. I can't speak for the others, but I can assure you that with Sarah's skill and training methods, you will be well prepared by the time the siege arrives.
Okay. Sarah nodded and bowed to me slightly. Well, I was flattered at the idea. Did I really need a trainer? I knew Taekwondo. I beat up the demons last game. The devils. And I at least knew how to defend myself, demon or not. Then again, we were in the demon world, where magic was the norm. I like to Sarah, I don't need no trainer. What the others teach me? You know what? I don't need a trainer. I'm awesome. I was fine on my own. Diana stared at me, slightly miffed and slightly in disbelief. Did she not believe me? I didn't ask. As Diana pressed her lips into a fine line and looked to the others. Ha 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 ha. I think I grabbed the jerk stick from my husband.
Very well. Do what you believe you should.
Okay. Everyone get out. With that, Diana turned on her heel and left the room.
Finish eating. Afterwards, you should start training.
Agreed. Everyone in the room nodded their affirmation as Diana and Sarah left.
Well, it looks like we'll be busy for the next couple of days.
Yeah, so much for this being an early honeymoon.
This'll be fun.
That is so you, sweetheart. That is so you.
Man, training's gonna suck.
No, it won't. It'll be fun.
It'll be worth it, though.
Agreed.
Damien's right.
I know, right? As we all finished eating, everyone left to either train or do things on their own. I left to start my own work, determined to be prepared for what was to come. The Demon Lord wasn't going to win. I wouldn't let him. So I chose to train on my own. Yeah, sorry, Rabbit. I haven't seen what your training techniques are like, but... It would not be an easy adventure, but I had to practice my self-defense from Taekwondo. If I found a way to add magical energy to the mix, then I would be set. Yeah, it's almost like I should, ask someone that's from here. It seemed like a good idea until I managed to kick the bench from the bed frame a couple of times, resulting in a very sore foot. Yeah! It was strange. Practicing my self-defense went normally as I've done before, yet I could tell that I was going to need some help. I mean, do I really? I left my room to wander the halls, curious as to what to do. Should I go to one of the rebels for advice? Should I find Diana? I wasn't entirely sure. Do nothing and return to my room. I felt a bit discouraged, but I pressed forward, letting my feet guide me. Who are you? I don't think I've seen this girl before. Eventually, I was led outside, where a woman on a strange brown and red horse raced through an obstacle course. There were training dummies stationed around each turn, and the woman rammed her sword into each one as she rode by. And looks awesome doing it. I was quickly entranced. She looked so natural on the horse, and the way she cut through the dummies was downright breathtaking. I grew mildly envious of her skill. So horsey! As she spotted me, however, she stopped and pulled the reins on her horse. Please say she knows I'm a guest. Please say she knows I'm a guest.
Whoa! Huh. You must be the human.
Emerald, yes.
You look much prettier than I imagined.
Thank you. You also look quite pretty. And surprisingly human. The woman quickly jumped down from her horse and walked over to me, smiling a kind smile my way as she approached. Oh, hi. I didn't mean to disturb you from your training or anything. I didn't want to stop her or distract her, but the woman waved her hand dismissively with a laugh.
It's alright. I needed a break anyway. I'm Mirth, friend. How can I help you?
Aww, I love that name. I stared at her, surprised to see her being so cordial to me. Then again, I was a guest of the castle, and apparently gossip spread around that a human was staying for the duration of the war. It should not have been a surprise to see such manners. Yeah, it's almost like Diana's people are reasonable or something. Still, I shook my head and smiled. It's nothing, truly. I just wanted to come out and explore, that's all.
Explore? How strange. Do humans often wander around on their own?
Uh-huh.
I figured the rebel queen would have a bodyguard watch over you.
Yeah, but me and my fiancé, I think, kinda ticked her off. I shrugged a bit. It really wasn't a human thing. Excuse me? It was more of an emerald thing. I had always naturally been curious, and the world I was in was full of new things to learn. I do, at least. I find it to be a good way to break away from day-to-day routine and take in the sights, let my mind wander, you know? Murph stared, nodding a bit, despite me seeing a slight distance in her eyes. She was a demon, after all, so the human mind was a little too different when it came to what we did and why. I smiled and looked around, seeing the strange purple sky above us and taking in the smell of the air. It really is nice out here, though. I almost wonder why I decided to train alone.
Huh? You're training alone? Why?
Why are you training alone? Well, I guess you're not alone, you have a horse. I looked over at Mirth, seeing her tilt her head at me in confusion. I shrugged a bit. I'm not really used to having someone train me. Or maybe I didn't want to worry about someone watching me train, but I didn't want to bring any of the rebel leaders down.
Wait, they all offered to train you?
Uh-huh, I'm guessing that's not the norm. I nodded, seeing a glint of amusement from her eyes. Yeah, they were all open to take me and train me to defend myself.
But I already know how to fight, so I didn't want to take up their time. Yeah, I understand that. I'm sure they have much more to focus on and accomplish anyway. And speaking of not taking up too much of your time, I need to bring the video to a close here. Until next, Taktikatila Kiddo.